Good morning, class. It's time for lesson 120. And I was wondering if you guys can remember how to draw that garden scene that Kate taught us about how many cups are in a pint, or how many cookies were in a puppy, and how many puppies were in a queen or with a queen, and how many queens were in the garden. On your whiteboards, if you don't have your whiteboards, go grab them. On your whiteboards, I want you to see if you can draw one big garden with all the correct things inside. Pause your video. Go. So, how'd you do? It's been a while, hasn't it? That's why we're reviewing. So how many queens were in the garden? Or how many quarts were in the gallon? I'll bet Kate could tell us. There were 4 queens. Kind of like in a deck of cards, there are 4 queens in a deck of cards. How many puppies were with each queen? Or how many pints were in each quart? If you said 2, that's correct. Each queen had 2 puppies. If you're not drawing this, draw it right now. In our garden, we had 4 quarts. In every queen, we had 2 puppies. Or in our gallon, we had 4 quarts. In every quart, there are 2 pints. Now, how many cups were in every pint? Or how many cookies were in each puppy? There were 2. 2 cookies in each puppy. I'm sure they were dog biscuits, not real cookies, because that could be not good for our puppies. But there were 2 cups in every pint, 2 pints in every quart, 4 quarts in every gallon. Remember this for this week's work and also on your test coming up. You're going to make sure that you know these because they will show up on your test. So you need to have these in your memory. If it helps you to write this down on your paper every day until the test, or even to write it on the test, do so. We need to put this into memory. Another thing we need to review is how to count by fourths. When we're counting with inches especially, we often count by 1/4 of an inch. For instance, if I was counting each one of these to my inch, we notice that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So I'm going to be counting by fourths. Let's review how to do that. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 1/2 or 4/4. So each one of these marks, I'll see if I can line them up a bit better. Each one of these marks is a measurement counted by fourths. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. We know another name for 2/4 is 1/2, because 1/2 is halfway between 0 and 1. And another name for 4/4 is 1. Okay, so what would happen if I said, I want to measure to this point? What is that point, Esther? Esther would say, I can help you with that. I'm going to count first by my whole numbers. 1, 2, that's my whole number, but I have to do this one. So what would this be? Well, what is the first notch always in fourths? 1/4. So this is 2 and 1/4 inch. Okay, now you try it. Esther helped you with that one. What would, let's do this furthest one. What would that one be? Write it down on your whiteboard. 3, 2, 1, marker down. If I'm counting by inches, it would be 1, 2, 3 inches, and what's the first mark when we're counting by fourths? 1/4. 3 1/4 inches. Did you remember your tag? Let's try another one. What would this mark be? Write it on your whiteboard. 3, 2, 1, markers down. If I'm counting by inches, this is 1, and what would this mark be? Let's count by fourths. 1/4, 1/2. If you said 2/4, that's okay, but you're eventually going to have to reduce that to 1/2 anyway, so it's better to go ahead and call it 1/2. So 1.5 inches is the place where this is marking. Try another one. Let's do this one. 3, 2, 1. Markers down. Let's count. 1, 2. I don't go to 3 because this is before the 3, so it's just 2 and something. So I'm at the 2, and now I got to count by fourths to my mark. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So 2 3/4 inches is that mark. Be practicing this. If this is trouble area for you, make sure you go back to your previous lessons. They're all through your book, and practice these. Have mom and dad check you over and see how you're doing. I want to remind you about something with your math. Hopefully you're watching your math lesson every day. Don't skip a math lesson from YouTube. It's your one thing that I get to help you with besides English directly. But I want to talk to you about correcting your math. So when you finish your math for today and you hand it to your parents, they're going to grade it with today's key that I emailed them. We do this every day. But when they hand it back to you, what are you supposed to do with that? Do you just toss it? I'm done with it? No, you need to correct it. Anything you got wrong, you're required to go back and correct just like we did in class. Well, what do you do when you're done correcting it? How do you know it's right? You have to take it back to your parents, and your parents have to look over the ones that you missed the first time and see if you got it right. If you got it right, great, you're done with that lesson. If you still miss something, you need to bring it to Mrs. Huff during Zoom. You can do it during our 1 o'clock Zoom, or you can bring it to me individually. Just call me on the Zoom, and we will sit down very quickly and go over that concept. I do not want you to wait until you've already had a test and missed that on a test to come back and say, I didn't really understand that. You needed to catch it that day. So as soon as your parents correct it and you have corrected it, well, your parents have graded it and you have corrected it, you make sure that you take it back to your parents. They don't need to walk you through it. They don't need to reteach you the concept. That's my job. So you just give me a Zoom or come to Zoom the next time you come at 1 o'clock and we will go over that together. I don't mind reteaching a concept at all. That's my job. But you have to tell me what you need. So make sure you're not just putting your corrections aside after you've gotten them back from your parents. Correct them, take them back to your parents, and make sure you got it right. Okay, let's do today's lesson 120. You're going to need your math journals today. Go ahead and turn to your table of contents, and let's write in our new lesson. So whatever page number you're on, write that down, and write dividing by multiples of 10. Copy that down into your table of contents, and then turn to your next page in your journal, write that page number at the top, and write your title at the top. Then you can unpause the video and join me. All right, we're going to write down everything Mrs. Huff writes down on the board on your page of your journal. Here we go. Dividing by multiples of 10. What are the multiples of 10 again? If I'm multiplying 10 times 1, I get 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times 3 is 30, and so on. Multiples of 10 are just counting by 10. We could keep going forever. So write down a few multiples of 10 so you remember what is this talking about. And now let's practice dividing by multiples of 10. You guys have already practiced dividing by 10. Don't write this one down, but remember how we did this? Yeah, we've done that before. 10 goes into 50 how many times? Well, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 10 times 5 is 50, and I multiplied, and there's my answer, 5. That was easy. But what if it's a multiple of 10, like one of these other numbers? That's what we're going to learn how to do today. So let's start with a smaller one. Let's start with 20. And let's divide it into 72. Okay? Written that down? Now, before you start trying to multiply times 20 or figuring out your 20 multiplication tables, which I don't want you to do, I'm going to show you an easier way. You've seen this, but I want you to think this. So over here, write think, and below it, write 2 into 7. Before you get too concerned, go ahead and just copy it down. Trust me. This is kind of like saying, I'm going to cover up everything but the front two numbers. The front two numbers are 2 and 7. That's why we're thinking this. How many times does 2 go into 7, Lindsay? 3 times. Yeah. And the same can be done here. 20 can go into 72 3 times. But I notice, whoa, wait. Notice I didn't put the 3 above the 7 like I would have if it really was 2 into 7. I'm just using 2 into 7 to estimate. But since 20 is 2 digits, I know I'm going to need to put it above the second digit over here. Okay? So 20 goes into 72 3 times, but I put the 3 above the second digit. Got that? So I'm using this to help me come up with the number. 2 goes into 7 3 times. That gives me the number 3, but I'm going to put it not above the 7, but above the 2 because it's 2 digit. Okay? Now I multiply. Now be careful here. Follow the multiplication steps. You guys know that before we would say 3 times this number would give me this number. Let me do that again. Remember our C? This times this equals this. And we're still going to do that. But because it's 2 digit, we have to take turns. Just like if we had 20 times 3 written like this, I would take 3 times 0 first, and then 3 times 2. It's the same thing we're going to do here. First 3 multiplies times 0. 3 times 0 is 0. I put my 0 in the ones. Just like over here, I would put it in the ones place. Going in the ones here. Got that? So I've multiplied times my 0. Now I'm going to multiply 3 times 2, or 3 times 2, which is 6. And it goes in the tens, just like it would here. So notice that whether you're multiplying this way or this way, you still get the same answer. But you need to do it the same way. First the ones, then the tens. Okay? Now from here, it's the same way we always have done. 7 minus 2 is 2. I'm sorry, 2 minus 0 is 2. And 7 minus 6 is 1. And you might go, wait a minute, Mrs. Huff, that's way too big to be my remainder. But do you remember what the question was on our steps of division? Come to think of it, do you remember the steps of division? Willow, what are my steps of division? Divide, multiply, subtract, compare, bring down. That compare step right here, do you remember what we asked ourselves? We said, is 12 smaller than 20? Yes. So even though 12 seems like a ginormous number to have left over, as long as it's smaller than our divisor, we're still good. So my answer is 3, remainder 12. That's how you divide a 2-digit multiple of 10. Let's try another. I'm going to erase this part of my board because I'm running out of space. You just go on to the next space below in your journal. Okay, write down this one below what you did before in your journal. 30, which is a multiple of 10, into 127. Now, I'm going to think something first to help me out here. What am I going to think? Remember, covering up the front? Can 3 go into 1? No. Can 3 go into 12? Yes. So I'm going to think how many times can 3 go into 12? Again, do that again. Can 3 go into 1? No. Can 3 go into 12? Yes. How many times? 4 times. So I'm thinking 3 goes into 12. How many times? 4 times. Now, if I was really doing 3 into 12, it would go here, that 4. But notice that 3 would go into 12. 30 is going to need another digit. So I'm not going to put my 4 above here, because that's where it would have been normally if it was 3 to 12. Instead, it's going to go above the 7. Okay? So I added on another digit, therefore that 4 goes in another digit over. Okay, so we know it's going to go in 4 times, or we hope so. Now I'm going to multiply. And we normally would just go like this, and we still will, but we have to do it in 2 steps. So if it helps you, you can think of it this way. But let's multiply. First times the ones place. 4 times 0 is 0. Goes in the ones place. If I did that here, 4 times 0 is 0 in the ones place. And now the tens place. 4 times 3 is 12. And if I did that here, 4 times 3 is 12. Either way, I get the same number. Okay? Next step is subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7. 2 minus 2 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. My remainder is, oh wait, let's ask our comparing. Is 7 less than 30? Yes. So my remainder is 7. So my answer is 4 remainder 7. Let's do some practice ones on your whiteboard. Let's do this one first on your whiteboard. You can copy it down, 30 into 72. Now, if you're pretty sure you know how to do this, you can pause the video and go ahead and work it on your own. If you're still a little iffy, work this one with me, okay? Here we go. First, what am I going to think? I think 3 goes into 7 how many times? So I'm thinking this. How many times can 3 go into 7? Kate? Twice. If I was really going 3 into 7, my 2 would go here. But since I've got 2 digits, my 2 is going to go not above the 7, but next door above the 2. Okay? Next step, Wyatt, multiply. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 3 is 6. Now, if you need to see that a different way so you know where the numbers go, you can do this. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 3 is 6, and that will give you the same answer to put here. But eventually, you're going to want to be able to do like this. First the ones place, then the tens place. Next step is subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. 7 minus 6 is 1. Compare. Is 12 less than 30? Yes. Okay, then my answer is 2 remainder 12. Okay? If you have paused, you can go ahead and watch this. And everyone then, when you're done with this, go to this one, write it down on your whiteboard and see if you can work it through. 87 divided by 20. Pause the video, you can use your journal if you need to, and then start it again and see how you did. All right, I'm sure you have your answer. I'm going to work it through. You check yours as I'm working through it. So I'm going to think 2 goes into 8. 2 can go into 8 4 times. So 20 goes into 87 4 times, but my 4 is going to go over 1. Now I multiply. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 2 is 8. And subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7. 8 minus 8 is 0. Is 7 less than 20? Yes. So my answer is 4, remainder 7. Now, if you're stuck, you can rewind this as many times as you want and watch it. I'm going to do 2 more practice ones, and then you're ready to start. Erase your whiteboard and try this one. 40 into 95. Pause your video and solve it. Okay, let's see how you did. I started by covering up everything but the front. 4 goes into 9 how many times? Twice. But I'm not going to put the 2 here. I'm going to put it here, next door. Then I multiply. 2 times 0 is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. And subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. 9 minus 8 is 1. Is 15 less than 40? Yes, so I know I did it right. My answer is 2, remainder 15. Write this one down unless you got that one wrong. If you got that one wrong, pause and figure out where you got off. Okay? If you got it right, erase your board and go on to this one. All right, 217 divided by 30. I'm going to cover up everything but the front number. Can 3 go into 2? No. Can 3 go into 21? How many times? 7. So that's what I'm thinking. 7. Is my 7 going to go here above the 21? No, because that's only if it was 3. So I'm going to move it over 1 here. Now I multiply. 7 times 0 is 0. That goes in the ones. 7 times 3 is 21. Now if that part got messed up, remember you can always multiply this way, 30 times 7 like that, and get your answer, and then put it here. Okay, that's fine too. Just takes a little longer. And subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7. 1 minus 1 is 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. Is 7 less than 30? Yes. So my answer is 7, remainder 7. Now again, if this is tricky for you, you can rewind and listen to the steps again and again, however many times you need to, practice those same problems until it gets easier for you. And then you can start on lesson 120. For today's lesson in 120, you're going to be doing number 9 through, wait, did I get that right? Nope, I didn't. You're on lesson 120, but you're going to be doing numbers 13 through 29. So you're going to start at 13 and go clear to the end of the lesson to 29. You don't have to do number 30, just to 29. Do your best.